Hey everyone, quick little announcement here from Fishing the DMV. Our Weekend Warrior package on Patreon is nearly full. There are only 46 spots still available. Once these spots are gone, they're gone, and the Weekend Warrior tier will be closed to the general public. All members will be locked in indefinitely at a fantastic price point, and they will get all the benefits that they have today, plus any new benefits and discounts that will be added in the future. All Weekend Warriors will receive 5% off their orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off their orders to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off their orders to Catoctin Creek Rod. They'll also gain access to our private Facebook group community, loads of members-only content, and in 2025, there are going to be tournaments that will be given a massive discount specifically to our Weekend Warrior members. Plus, if you sign up for the year right now, you will get 8% off your already fantastically discounted rate to join the Weekend Warrior program. Link in the episode description. Thank you.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Monday Night Live, November 4th, before the biggest chaos day ever in American history, except when the Cowboys play the Redskins. There, I said it. They are the Redskins, damn it. Not this team for Washington or this Washington Commanders. What a gay ass, I don't know, millennial parenting way to call them the Commanders. Yeah, no, we're the Redskins. It's the Redskins. It'll always be the Redskins. I don't care. Like, it's the Cleveland Indians. And it's not me being PC against that. It's just, it's Americana that it's the Cleveland Indians. 3 fantastic baseball movies, by the way. You know what I'm talking about. And it's the Washington Redskins. It is. Guys, we have a great show. Might be a quick show, might be a long show. It really depends on you guys, because this is a call-in show where we get to bitch about fishing, because that's usually what we do on these things. The call-in number is 667-307-8583. Yeah, I'm in a pretty good mood, honestly. I think the Halloween Patreon members only tournament went extremely well. Did a little fishing the past weekend, which was amazing. And to celebrate hitting 6,000 subscribers on YouTube under 3 years. I've only been doing this podcast for it'll be 3 years, December 1st, actually, believe it or not. 3 years, December 1st, I've been doing this podcast. Insane that I hit 6,000 that fast. And I'm over 300 episodes of the show. But enough about all that. As a treat to all of you guys, I have a new episode of Hidden Gems coming out. Every time I post one of those things, it usually goes viral. Hidden Gems, which is like my documentary series, which takes it's homage to Fishing on the B.A.S.S. So Joe Sorelli did that, which really inspired that. That is dropping this Thursday. I will be putting a teaser trailer out tomorrow morning for that episode. I'm really, really excited about that. But anyway, enough about that stuff. Let's bitch about fishing. So, as the title said there, yeah, congratulations, everyone. You are in the apocalypse. Yeah, the fishing industry is dead at this point. I really do believe that. This is absolutely the dark times to be fishing. Everyone, there's so many clapping seals out there being like, but this is the first person to ever say no entry fees, and the government would never lie to us, and an organization actually can be, philanthropic and care about the little person. No, and in my mind, why are they doing this? I asked this on Basscast Radio with Brian and Geek. And I've asked this to myself as soon as I actually saw what happened, which is why? Why would a company do this? Generally speaking, 99.9% of the time, for all the people out there that actually work for somebody, a company doesn't do something out of the goodness of their heart. Oh, no. How do they make money? How does this help them? And so Bassmaster announced last week that, guess what? No entry fees, ladies and gentlemen. And we're supposed to take this, like most of the peons out there on Facebook and in the comments, saying like, this is the best thing that ever happened to bass fishing. Bass is number one, suck it, boy, duck it. Most people forgetting that actually MLF did this first in 2019. What did they do different? What actually changed? Because MLF did try this in 2019 and it failed. And if you guys don't recall, 2019 was a pretty good economy. Money was cheap because there's these things called interest rates, and companies need to use those things to borrow money because, that's how the old economy works. And, anyway, so an economic lesson for most people that don't know that. It failed then, and they had a ton of money backing it. Cool. So that failed. And then during a tribulating 2024, let's say the least. Inflation is through the roof. The cost of living is bad. You got to pick between, getting some groceries, 2 or 3 packs of, macaroni and cheese from Walmart or filling up your boat. They're saying like the economy is great. And so the economy is so good. We're doing so good here at Bass. No entry fees, because that's how much we care about you, the bass angler. And I would love to believe that. I really would. But then again, I come back down to this question is, why now? Why in 2024? What about now makes you, out of the goodness of your heart, who cares about each individual out there, that dude that has a dream in his heart of becoming a pro bass angler, you decide now is the time in 2024, an election year, when the Fed decided to cut interest rates and it looks like we're heading to a massive recession potentially in 2024, depending on who wins the election. I'm not going to go there, but that's all I'm going to say about that. That you decide this is the time that no entry fees, we're done. And guys, the number is 667-307-8583 if you want to get on this saucy topic. So let's look behind the curtain, because I think follow the money. In any of this stuff you do in your life, always understand, follow the money and look at the accounting books. It's a little bit of Hollywood accounting, I think, is going on here. So who runs bass fishing? Okay, well, it's the endemic sponsors that run it. They pull the strings about everything. If Garmin didn't care, if forward-facing sonar was around, it would be gone. Let's just be real about this. It's allowed to stay because there are people behind the scenes that allow it to happen. If something was too much of an issue, it would be gone. And it wouldn't be because of Boyd, it wouldn't be because of Bat, it would just be because it's how this works. Follow the money. Now, if I was a sponsor, you might be saying, Tom, well, how the hell does this affect the sponsors? This should be good for the sponsors. Exactly, it is good for the sponsors, which means it's bad for the everyman. This caters to the 1%. This caters to the Edwin Evers of the world, the Brandon Polonics of the world, the people that have made it. Congratulations, you are number one. But if you are starting out, this is screwing you more. And this is becoming more of a casino like Charlestown Races and Slots right up the street for me. That's what this is for the everyday man. It is NASCAR now. It is not a sport. When you do this and you pull back the curtain and you make it so there's no entry fees paid, they want you to believe this bill of goods that we are doing this out of the kindness of our hearts. But what does this mean? Well, let's say I'm a sponsor. Let's say I'm, what's a sponsor that sucks down? General Tires. Let's just say General Tires. Well, if I have 4 or 5 people that I sponsor, at the beginning of the year, I would have to pay out close to $50,000. $50,000 I would have to pay out. And that's a crying shame, honestly, that I have to pay all that money out. But then I talk to Bass, and what I tell them is, hey, what if we go to no entry fees, and now all of a sudden I don't have to push off my books, what, $100,000, $200,000? How much money do you think some of these sponsors actually at the first of the year have to push out off of their books? It's just a fascinating thing to actually think about. Again, the number is 667-307-8583. Give that thing a call right there and you can get on the show. So if you're a sponsor, you'd have to be out all that money. And again, like how you keep your books, you can push off certain expenses, but that's a hit of cash. Okay, think about that. You need the cash if you're a sponsor to be able to put out for 3 or 4 pros. You really do. So if I have 3 or 4 pros that are on my staff, and let's say that's $200,000 for 4. Let's just say there's 4 there, $50,000 each. That's $200,000 I need somewhere to be able to flip them the money. And I'm going super basic. Someone's going to call in like, Tommy, your math is wrong. I'm keeping the math simple right now because based on the comment sections I read the past week, half of America really should go back and learn some old math, the 2 + 2 = 4. Because, yeah, that was hilarious in one sense. But anyway, I digress. I'm all over the place. So you have the 4 people you sponsor. That's $200,000. You need that liquid cash available to you to actually dole out there to give to Bass. By doing this, it helps the sponsors out tremendously, that they don't need that money on their books. Money that they don't have because they are actually in a very tight situation because of inflation, because of shrinkflation, and because the economy is shaking. I know people are going to say, but my 401k is great, and my stocks are doing great. Fantastic. The job market sucks. I can't buy a house. And the pack of Doritos I bought last week is not the same pack of Doritos I bought 5 or 6 years ago. it's not as good as you think. There's a crust, a veneer that is lying to you about how things are going. So we put all that in there. They don't have to put that money up front. That's number one. Number two, I don't have to put all that money up there, Jeb. Since, Jeb, I don't have to put all that money up there, why should I pay you the same amount? You were right. A year or two ago, you came to me saying like, well, I need all this money because I need this money up front just so I can make it through the season. They can now renegotiate their contracts potentially in 2026, not just this year, but 2026, a difference in contracts because, hey, yeah, you don't need as much money from us. So that can help them there. Number three is I think it helps the books of the one percenters. I really do. If you are, again, I'm picking on Edwin Evers. I'm sorry because I actually like him, but Edwin Evers, Brandon Polnick, Kevin Van Dam, whoever, Milliken. If you are one of those one percenters, this gives you a great time because it doesn't affect you. You don't need the money in 50th place to survive. You already are in the 1% of your sponsorship funds. Those lower checks only help the people that need to break even. The people who are getting that 30th place really matters. You know, do you think Jacob Wheeler gives a shit if he misses a 30th place finish? No. He's in the 1 percentile of sponsorship dollars. He's fine. And I think this actually probably helps him out too in the long run when it comes to money that he has to push out of pocket, especially when it comes to sponsorships, because you can do deferral payments. And now baseball, I'm going to talk baseball talk real quick. Now, I know, don't leave, I'm going to talk baseball, but there's a big thing with the learners here. When the learners of the Washington Nationals, learners are a terrible group. They suck. Rizzo, you're awesome. The learners suck. How the hell do you give away 2 people that win the home run goddamn derby and then next year they're not part of the team? By the way, that's a record. No other baseball team in history has somebody win the home run derby and the next year you get rid of them. Side point there. The learners were really big on deferred contracts. And Scherzer had a deferred contract. What does that mean, Tom? That means if you were owed $30 million a year, what they would do is defer that out for like 50 years. So they didn't have to pay to take the tax hit on that. And that's kind of something you need to think about here is how, again, this affects everything. Sorry, I got a text message here. Yeah. Everyone's like, I'm all over the place. No, I'm trying to cover all my bases here because I was just so riled up about all of this. And we got a B-Cal here. I think it shows just how important the entry fees are to the payouts. If they had sponsors, they put up the payout money, it could change, but we aren't NASCAR. The sponsorships run this thing, and this helps sponsors. This helps the 1%, 100%. Please change my mind there. We got a bunch of callers lined up in the queue that I've been ignoring. I'm sorry. So, guys, right now we have on Brian of the B.A.S.S. by the way. Guys, we have Brian of the B.A.S.S on right now. Just wanted to make sure I was looking for the caller ID to make sure I got this in. So anyway, guys, restart. We right now have on the air Brian of B.A.S.S Radio. Boom. Go, sir. All
right. So I put out a poll the other day, and a lot of the guys think it's going to be overturned.
I could believe it. It's a raw deer. It is a fantastic piece of propaganda about how you're selling, basically shit and calling it absolute gold. And it was funny because they almost did it. And it was so funny when it first came out. And it's like, guys, no entry fees. The government is giving us free money and there's no ramifications. And everyone was clapping. And then like 4 hours later, people were like, huh. Then 10 hours later, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. And then like 48 hours later, it's so funny. It's like the longer it went, the more people started to complain because they started to actually like, I don't know, either do the math, calculate it, but it was interesting to see how this story evolved.
There's also going to be an anglers meeting in about a week or so, and it's anglers only.
What do you think that means?
I wonder if they're going to bring it up. I know they're going to discuss the payouts and they're going to discuss that, but I wonder if they're going to take something before the people who are in charge of B.A.S and say, we don't want to go that direction.
I don't know, man. But again, it's like how much this has to do with the economy. Like again, the homework I did before I did this was literally looking at contracts in different sports and talking about deferred payments and how you push this off and like how does this affect the accounting books of sponsors and 1% pros if you say you don't have to dump $100,000 January 1. It's got to be good. So Brian was just causing a fire, it sounds like, on a Titanic or something like that, or he was going down in a submersible like all the billionaires. So we're going to let him go. We got another caller here. Oh, and he just dropped out. So again, the number is 667-307-8583. Will this get overturned? That would be fascinating if they bitch enough. And is that good for the sport? Let's say this does get overturned, like Brian said. What is the next step? There's a reason they were going to implement this. And I really think the reason they were going to implement this is because the economy is not doing too good. They're trying to constrict as much as possible. There's too many anglers out there. There's too many leagues in their mind. I'm not saying that whether right or wrong, there's too many. I just think they think that. This is why there are so many people that you look on social media that want just one league. They want just Bass, and they want, the NPFL, and they want the BBT to go away, because if you just have one league, they can cut half the people. If I was Tackle Warehouse and I have 2 or 3 pros, let's say I have 2 pros in each league, hypothetically here. Okay, 3 leagues times 2, that's 6 pros I have. Well, if 2 of the leagues go away, I can, in theory, get rid of 4 potential pros that I have to pay or give discounts to, and I just have 2 I have to deal with. Boom. So to me, I am, as a sponsor, hoping that there's just one league. I want less fishermen. And I know that sounds so weird, but you want less. And so I think that's what they're trying to do. I really think that's what they're trying to do, because I do think it's NASCAR at this point. It's not actually professional fishing, sadly. But, let me know your thoughts here. I'm going to go get some super chats here. Let me get some super chats. At this point, I know I must be speaking a lot of truth, because no one wants to argue it, which is, I guess, good when you think about it, when everyone is like, yeah, I don't know. No, he actually makes sense. Let's get that up there. Alrighty, there are my chats. Now let me check Instagram real quick. We got Matt Price. I went to Lake Frederick on Saturday. Plenty to bitch about. Dude, Lake Frederick is extremely tough this time of year. The biggest thing you want to look for is if you have forward-facing sonar to go back into the submerged trees in the back end of Frederick. That's where they're going to be at. But then as it gets colder, they're going to start going towards the bowl of the lake. But that's kind of what's going on with Lake Frederick. If Lake Frederick actually had more... Again, I say this all the time, SAV, things like that, it would be working out way better, or docks or something like that. But anyway, as we get back to bass fishing, Bass is also putting out like an extra $200,000 that apparently they just found out of nowhere. And this is the other thing too, is, Fox Sport actually came out or the Fox Sport and the Bassmaster weird friendship that has merged over the past couple of years, where they're coming out and they're saying, everything's great. We have these fantastic views. It's popping. But then you have people in the comment section saying like, no, it's actually terrible, because forward-facing sonar is ruining it. But then Bass comes back saying like, no, listen to us. It's actually good. It's all really good. And then they come out with this, and people immediately jump to like, well, it's because of the Fox deal. Let me tell you about a little bit of the industry magic here, okay? And you see this with Disney Plus, you see this with Netflix, you see this with all the major media Hollywood companies. If Bass actually signed a newish deal that made a shit ton of money and they had a bunch of views, that stuff would be wallpapered everywhere. And it's not, because the numbers are probably good. We have to assume their word to it, which I would never do. So where did this money come from? Again, it has to do that they make more money up front somewhere in the whole cook of this thing. So I guess my point with this whole thing is, do not look at this as a win for anglers. It's a step back for anglers, believe it or not. I know that sounds really facetious, but it is true. And that's the thing, is like, anglers are taking the L all over the industry. The BFLs suck. They just flat out suck right now. The pays suck. People are hating their co-angler. There's fighting there that sucks. The Costas are terrible. The Toyota series. I'll always call them the Costas because I think that's cooler. But the Toyota series, that's not what it used to be. The Bass Opens have 100,000 bass boats. The pay sucks in those. I mean, the NPFL is the only thing that's half decent, and people think that sucks. I mean, the fishing industry right now, dude, it's a freaking joke. You can't make money at it. You can't, because it's gambling. It's just a casino on the water, and that's what it is. And they'll throw up Jacob Wheeler's face or a Polinick or whoever and be like, one day, Jimmy, you could be like him. All you got to do is you got to just buy this crack from us. You buy this crack and you can be just like him someday. And that's why they focus so much on high school and college sports. That's why they indole them with all this stuff. And they tell them, like, listen, all you need to do is take out a loan for a brand new Toyota truck. Then you got to buy one of these Icon bass boats for $250,000. You are correct that in Haiti, that means you probably could buy the whole island of Haiti with that much, but don't worry about that. You just put that on your mommy's credit card. That's fine. So you get those two things there. Okay. And then you're going to pay all this money to the Bass Opens to get your ass kicked for the first 3 or 4 years, because there are people that have nothing better to do but camp out by a lake forever because their parents own something. After all of that, eventually could maybe make it to make as much money as potentially working at McDonald's. Like, it's all a scheme. That's all it is. And it sucks. I don't want it to be, but we got to wake up and smell the roses here with what fishing actually is right now. Let's see what we got here. We got Michael saying, I wonder if the same thing is going to happen to fishing as what happened to professional bowling. The number of tournaments dropped significantly 10 to 12 years ago. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the bowling tour season lasted from January to May with a tournament every week. Will Bass just cut down on the number of tournaments to save money? I could think that. But this is the whole issue, Michael, with the way their tournament organization is set up. They want you to pay money to go there. They don't care if the fishery's good. They don't. I mean, why the hell would you go to the Sabine as many times as you did? It's because of the money. The St. John's River. I love that place. It went through a downturn because of people spraying too much or because of natural things, because of hurricanes, flooding, whatever. That place had some down years. They paid money. The St. Lawrence paid money for God knows how long. There's a chance, in theory, let's just say the St. Lawrence doesn't pay anymore to go to the St. Lawrence River. The Bassmasters might not go there anymore. And that's still one of the best smallmouth fisheries in the history of forever. And they might not go there anymore because the money's not there. I could see them just going to 4 lakes, 5 lakes. Yeah. Because with any stock, you will have a pop in the stock because everyone is speculating it's going to go to the moon. And then people calculate it's not actually worth this much and it drops down and it matures. McDonald's is a mature stock. It's been around for 100 years. People know what you're going to go with it. It's not going to pop anymore. It went down to the mean and it is what it is. A tech stock, for example, the AI boom, it just kept going up because people couldn't calculate how high it was. And with bowling in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, people thought this was going to be the shit. It was the thing. And that's talking about what, 10, 20, 30 years potentially that bowling was hot. And then they calculated it and were like, oh, it's kind of reached its ceiling and it regressed to its mean. Bass fishing exploded in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Early 2000s being the zenith of it, just before the housing crisis. Everyone wanted to get into it. Why did everyone want to get into bass fishing? Because of NASCAR. Because everyone slept on NASCAR, because the people that have money are from Hollywood and up in New York, and they look down on people from the South. They look down on country people. And they thought there's no way Jeb and Bub have any money and would want to watch a car go around in a circle. And it became, at the time, what the biggest spectator sport ever in the history of the world. And a lot of people were embarrassed. A lot of people that go to Massanutten and go to Martha's Vineyard and go to LA were butthurt that they were wrong about NASCAR. And they didn't bet on it. But then comes around bass fishing. And that's one of the reasons ESPN bought it. And because ESPN was owned by Disney. It's a massive conglomerate. They bought that because they were going to bet on it because they messed up with NASCAR. And they bet on it, and there's a lot of companies rushing in. Walmart sponsored FLW. Everyone rushed in thinking fishing would become the next NASCAR. The problem is, at the time, it wasn't the spectator sport. And this is where I think it's really interesting about timing. Again, the number is 667-307-8583. Timing. You know, NASCAR, you can sit there, you can have all the stadiums set up so you can actually watch everything. With fishing at the time, the technology wasn't there where you didn't have live. Isn't that crazy thing about there's a time you didn't have live? And so it was not going to work. Live is relatively new. It started like 2 years, I think, before COVID really is when live really hit with Bassmaster doing that. And that was like 4 or 5 years after the big boom of bass fishing. I think if live and you had Major League Fishing and all this other technology 6 years earlier, when people were throwing money in fishing, I think there was potential for it to actually pop, because then you could have made it more spectatory. The problem is people pushed money in too early when you didn't have the technology to stream it. And then the money went away to go to other places. And again, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room that is the YouTube. YouTube came along. Again, like YouTube was launched in, off the top of my head from a paper I wrote, 2006, 2008 timeframe. So if you talk about 2008, that's when the housing crash hit. Like 2007, 2008 is the housing crisis. If you go earlier than that, that was like 06, but it was just launched. No one was on the app. So 2010 really was when YouTube popped off. So that's after the big boom of fishing. And at that point, if you're an advertiser, dude, you have so many people that you can just throw money at. You want to go throw money at Bass Geek? He'll take it. I know he'll take it. I love you. You got Tactical Bassin, you have the Googans, you have Scott Martin, you have all these people that are little, basically movie studios that you could throw money at. You don't need to do Bass anymore. And so it's interesting just to see where things are going with that. We got so many questions here. We got Randy. That's why I don't fish. I don't fish at tournaments. I fish for love of it. It's money ruins it. Period. Yeah, money does ruin it. But again, I don't fish like, when I won this bad boy, it was not about the money. It really wasn't. It was enough money to kind of break even with everything. But it was like I got to fish against the really good river rats and came out on top one time, and I got a lot of respect for them. And that respect meant way, way, way more than I thought it would. I thought it would mean a lot, but then it happens. You're like, oh, I'm really touched. Like people shaking my hand that I respect. Like, oh, you did it. Good job. It's like meant. I couldn't anticipate how much that would mean to me. So, let's see. What tournaments, if any, are worth fishing? There's some bass tournaments I think that are there are some tournaments in bass fishing that are worth it when I'm bass fishing, boat tournaments. Not thinking of any. Not the BFLs, they suck. Local clubs. Antietam Bassmaster. Antietam Bassmaster, a club that I'm affiliated with, really great club in Hagerstown, Maryland, sorry. They do the catch-weigh release format. Believe it or not, they're a Bassmaster club though, but they do catch-weigh release because so many lakes in Maryland suck with their weird like off-limit stuff, but you can still go there if you do catch-weigh release. But I pay like $150, $200 in January, and I don't pay an entry fee. That's it. I think the winner wins $100 and everything else is free. Very cheap tournaments. I get to fish a lot of local waters. I get to do a cool catch-away release tournament. That's really fun. And I get to hang out with people, and I get to have the club ability. Thursday nighters. The Thursday nighters up where I'm at, it's $20 for a Thursday night. And you'd be like, who cares about that? Dude, in the summertime when you're on work, I relish those things. It literally makes my Thursday night. It's not about the money for those, but the idea that every Thursday, from June until the first week of September, I know every Thursday I get to go fishing with some friends for a couple of hours. And that's the thing, is like, that's what sports do to guys. It puts it on the calendar that you get to go do your fun thing. That's what it does, but it's cheap and it's just fun to do. So that kind of answers that question there. When it comes to the other side of things, kayak tournaments, dude, like that's where your bang for your buck is. It really is. It sucks because I have a bass boat. I'll always have a bass boat the rest of my life. But yeah, I absolutely adore that. And yeah, but kayaking, dude, again, it's also shrinkflation. You're not putting $200 in your boat in petrol. You have a kayak, you charge the batteries, you just go. $50 to $100 for an entry fee, you could win $5,000 to $10,000. You cannot beat that. You just never will. Talk about how the fish in big tournaments are being relocated after weigh-ins. Fish are being relocated after weigh-ins. There you go. Yeah, they are. I actually just had a conversation with John Odenkirk of the Department of Wildlife Resources earlier today. That episode is a special edition that's launching next year because I am interviewing every DWR guy in every region of Virginia for a report on a specific river they cover and lake. So I'm doing Smith Mountain Lake, Kerr, all the rivers in Virginia. That's all launching next year, but I'm recording the episodes a little bit early to make sure I get them all done. We talked about that. They did a fish tagging study actually in Virginia. Spoiler here for this episode. And they didn't see a massive residual impact of that. What they did see is like, yes, fish do get moved, but I think it was like 60 to 70% of them do swim back. And again, it depends on the body of water that you're at. The problem is, I guess, do they swim back? Yes. What is the rate and they get moved back? So if you're doing a study over a year, in a year, they found out the fish do swim back. The problem is if all you do is go there for 4 or 5 Saturdays in a row, you're saying like these fish never move because I've been in Mattawoman Creek and it keeps having a shit ton of fish in it. That's how many fish are actually in the bodies of water. Like it's amazing how many fish are actually in the Potomac River. It's billions of largemouth. It's billions. It's insane the amount of fish that are actually in there that we can't comprehend it. You put on top of that there's so many fish that gets dumped in Mattawoman and Lisa Vineyard Rocks, and there's still fish in Aquia Creek. Think about that. Just think about that. Aquia Creek does have Wednesday night tournaments. They do, but everybody goes down there in the spring and pulls fish to Lisa Vania and Mattawoman, and you still go back there and there's still fish. How does that happen? It's not just because of the Wednesday nighters with 20 boats. It's also because there's just that many fish down there. So yes, they have an impact. On the Potomac, is it as bad as a Gunnersville? I would have to talk to those biologists down there. I could definitely see that. And to get into your point there, this is why catch, weight, release is never going away. It's just not. Like logically, it makes sense that if you just catch a fish and put it back without scientific data, it makes sense. And this is why Major League Fishing has something against bass. They do. If Virginia and Maryland and Tennessee decided tomorrow that catch, weight, release tournaments had to go away, who wins? Major League Fishing. They're set for it. They're logistically set. They're culturally set to do that. If Bass tried to make that pivot, it would be very jarring for their fan base. Although the cult of Bass is insane. I really think if the CEO of Bass said, everyone, I just sent you some Kool-Aid in the mail. Just if you could drink that for me and put on your sneakers, we're going to go to Valhalla on a spaceship. Sadly, I think there's a lot of people that drink that Kool-Aid. And that's a cult joke, by the way, if you didn't get that. Let's see. We got Everett there. Is it better to have a bass boat or a tricked out John boat for boating tournaments? Everett, do you like fishing or tournaments? I think that can be both, but also different. If you're a dude that lives on Lake Anna and just loves to fish tournaments, you probably need a bass boat. If you live on the tidal Potomac and all you do like to do is fish tournaments, probably need a bass boat. If you like to go explore and fish Mooney, Hunting Run, Nye, Cedars Lake, Occoquan Reservoir, a ton of places that I'm probably missing, Leesville. There's so many lakes down below Fredericksburg in the Richmond area, below Chesden, the Norfolk area. There's so many places like that. A tricked out John boat is your best friend. It really is. There's so many more places you can put a tricked out John boat. There might not be a tournament, but you can explore so many places. So I feel wrong to give you an answer there because it really is. So example is like for me, I have a bass boat. It's paid off. It's paid off. It's sitting there rotting. It's a 2021 with big engine problems, but we'll fix that eventually. So I have a bass boat. Great. And so do I get a John boat? I would love one. Or I do a kayak. Well, right now I'm going to try to pimp out a kayak. Why? Because I can do tournaments. I can go to 9 all those places. I can put forward-facing sonar on my kayak. Great. I can take it anywhere. I can scratch the itch of tournament fishing, but I can get into those sneaky places like a Moomaw, like a Mooney, and all those other places. So that's where I went. If I didn't do the kayak, I would have gotten a John boat, and I would have had both. I feel like that's a cop-out answer, and I apologize for that. But anyway, number is 667-307-8583. We got Doug Fitzgerald. Hi, brother. How you doing? I am doing wonderful tonight on this election night. I apologize to everybody. We have to deal with all that garbage when it comes to the election. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to talk about fishing. We got Grant. What's going on, brother? It's going good. We got Chris Sherrill. Chris, dude, congratulations. You did a great finish in our tournament, by the way. Absolutely fantastic finish. We got a couple more here. What up? What up, boss man? How you doing? Let's see. We got B. Cow says, I think it shows just how important the entry fees are to payouts. If they had sponsors, they put up the payout money, it could change, but we aren't NASCAR. But is that good? Hypothetically, is it good if we were NASCAR? Is NASCAR a sport? What is a sport? That is a good question about what is actually a sport. Because to me, NASCAR is not a sport. Because to me, I played baseball my whole life. My dad played softball competitively. He got paid by companies to play softball. He played football. My mother played soccer. She tried to do the Olympics and got hurt. Sports is in my blood, being competitive. Believe it or not, this camera doesn't do me justice. I'm almost 6'2". I'm a big sports guy. I think a true sport is the Olympic stuff. You're talking about the track athletes, the big four, baseball, football, all those things like that. Like, I just think those are real sports. Fishing is weird because, and okay, so then Tom, what are you saying? It's like you have to be athletic? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in football, you could live in the ghettos, dirt poor, single mom. If you're good, you can get a full ride in college, no matter your grades. If you're good, the Washington Commanders, Redskins, will find you, pluck you, and put you in the starting lineup until you lose. Except this year, they're actually good. It didn't cost you anything. Your talent is a degree. Your talent will get you paid. Fishing, no matter how good you are, you must have money. Period. Hard stop. Right now in today's era, you need some kind of backing to make this work. You need backing to get, if you're a kid in high school, you need a boat in general to get good. You need a boat with forward-facing sonar to learn it to get good. Once you get that boat and your parents help you get that boat and you get good, then you get on a high school team. And then you probably have to pay the coach a little bit of money just to get onto the main rotation. And then you got to go find a college somewhere. And it's probably your parents are going to have to pay a butt ton of money to get you into like Virginia Tech. Then you get on Virginia Tech and you got to do things to get on that team. Like, there's so much money you got to constantly spend to actually make this thing work. And then you get to what? The Bassmaster Opens? Congratulations. Now you need somebody willing to pay $60,000 to $70,000 just for you to go out there and fish all these places to potentially win, which there is luck involved. There just is. Because guess what? The guy on the starting rotation for the shittiest baseball team got paid. He just did. The guy that's trying out in the Opens, and I'm talking about minor league baseball, the guy in the shittiest organization in AAA baseball got paid. And if the Bass Opens are the AAA organization of fishing, no one's getting paid shit, generally speaking. You're just donating to the casino, unless you're the one percenters. Again, it was a quote when Bass Talk Live, back when Mark Jeffries was on the show, talked about, like, with FLW. People would generally start on the FLW side. You would go there because the money was way better with FLW. No one talked about this, but FLW, when Walmart was in everything, FLW was the shit. What Forrest Wood did at FLW, it was a thing. The BFL All-Star was amazing because you had the next year, you got everything paid for. You got to be on the tour for like a year for free to see what you had. It was amazingly good. Bass was shaking in their boots. And you would build a career there. Then you get sponsors, and then you have disposable money to throw at things. Then you could make the jump to Bass, because Bass has always been about the glory of Bass, but it wasn't anything there. It was the hot chick at prom, but she was dumb as shit, and she had no personality, but she was hot. And so you're like, oh, cool, I get to spend time, and I get to have her, and I spend time with her, but then it's like you have to talk. And then you realize, like, she doesn't know that the earth is round. She talks about flat earth. You know, she keeps looking at the orange juice bottle because it says concentrate. And then you realize, like, oh my God, this girl's dumber than a sack of hammers. This is not what I thought it was. That's Bass in a nutshell. It's the allure of something flashy, but then it's just absolutely empty calories. In my opinion, I could be wrong. But you'd be like, well, then Tom, why do so many people try to go after her? Because it's the fallacy of man, good sir. It's the fallacy of man. We chase and covet what our eyes want, but then we get it and we realize it just will turn ash to our mouths. Guys, that's all I have for tonight with this rant. I know this was a little bit of Tim Dillon, but anyway, that's all I got tonight. Hidden Gems is going to premiere on Thursday. I have this episode will be dropping again on Wednesday because tomorrow is the election and I know people are going to be apeshit about all that crap and they don't care about fishing. So this episode will air again on Wednesday. It'll be taken down tonight, but it'll be air again on Wednesday. And then Thursday, Hidden Gems. Check that out. And I'll see you guys next time on Fishing the DMV.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by B.A.S.S Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.